I'll never forget the expression on Karen's face as the red and blue lights danced across her immaculately trimmed front yard. She stood there, arms folded, that ever-smug smile plastered across her lips as she gestured dramatically toward our gated driveway. She truly believed this would be her moment of victory. After weeks of escalating nuisance and harassment, the two police officers approached slowly. I watched the entire scene unfold from our security camera feed. One of them placed a hand to his earpiece, clearly listening to a message. His facial expression shifted slightly before he turned toward Karen with a look of suspicion. "Ma'am, dispatch is informing us this is a false alarm," he said, firm and direct. "There is no emergency reported at this residence." Karen's mouth fell open. "That's not possible." I heard screaming. "Something suspicious is going on inside," she insisted, her voice climbing to that high, piercing tone I'd learned to dread. What Karen didn't know, what she couldn't have, possibly predicted, was that the 911 dispatcher who had taken her call was my wife, Elaine. Elaine had recognized Karen's voice immediately. My wife and I had moved into what we thought was our forever home just 3 months ago. It was a stunning property on the edge of the Oakwood Estates development. Technically, we were outside of the official Homeowners Association jurisdiction, but we shared the same entrance road. The previous owners had made it clear our home wasn't under HOA rules. We had written documentation proving it. But none of that stopped Karen Wilkins, the self-appointed queen bee of the HOA, from making our lives miserable. At first, it seemed harmless. A knock on the door 1 week after we moved in. There she was, Karen, clipboard in hand, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said sweetly, even though her gaze was already scanning our front yard with the precision of a military drone. "I just wanted to let you know your mailbox doesn't comply with our community's design standards. You'll need to replace it within the next 7 days." I smiled politely, explaining that our property was not under HOA oversight. I even offered to show her the paperwork. She waved me off with a laugh that was anything but genuine. "That's a common misunderstanding," she said condescendingly. "All homes visible from the main road are subject to aesthetic compliance. I'll just leave this for you." She handed me a thick binder, over 100 pages of absurdly specific rules, including color charts for exterior paint and regulations on the number of garden gnomes allowed per lawn. The next week, she came back again. This time, it was the landscaping. Then it was the porch lights. Each time I calmly reiterated that we weren't part of her association, and each time she seemed more annoyed. Elaine suggested we just ignore her. That worked, briefly, but within days we started finding printed violation notices taped to our mailbox. Things spiraled from there. Karen began photographing our property from the street, sometimes standing there for 15 minutes, snapping pictures and jotting notes. One time, she blocked our driveway with her golf cart while using a tape measure to check the height of our hedges. When I asked her to move, she launched into a 20-minute lecture on communal responsibilities. The last straw came when a certified letter arrived claiming we owed $750 in HOA penalties. That's when I decided enough was enough. I had a modest security gate installed at the end of our driveway. Nothing extravagant, just a clean iron gate with a keypad and intercom system. But it sent a very clear message. This property is private. Karen was furious. She left angry voicemails, demanding our gate code for emergency access. She referenced imaginary HOA bylaws and threatened us with lawsuits. I saved every one of her messages, notes, and letters, documenting her increasingly irrational behavior. Elaine, being an emergency dispatcher, warned me that we might need to consider a restraining order if things got worse. Then came that morning, the morning that changed everything. I was working from home when our gate buzzer started ringing non-stop. On the security camera, I saw Karen jabbing her finger into the button, her face set with steely determination. Reluctantly, I answered through the intercom. "You need to open this gate right now," she barked, skipping any sort of greeting. "There's been a complaint about your property. I need to conduct an inspection immediately." "Karen," I said as evenly as I could, "you know we are not part of the HOA. You have no right to inspect our property. Please stop this harassment." Her expression twisted with rage. "Don't you tell me what I can or can't do," she snapped. "I've been leading this association for 7 years. Open the gate or face the consequences. I'm working. Please leave, or I'll have no choice but to report you." "You'll regret this," she hissed, turning on her heel and storming back to her golf cart. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. About 20 minutes later, my security system sent an alert. Karen was back. She stood just outside the gate, phone to her ear, making sweeping gestures toward our house. I turned up the audio feed just as she said, "Yes, I need police. Assistance right away." I heard screaming, and they're refusing to open the gate. Someone could be in serious danger. Then she gave our address. My stomach dropped. She had just made a false emergency call to 911. I immediately tried calling Elaine at work, but she couldn't answer. She was on duty. All I could do was wait and watch helplessly as Karen paced in front of our home, occasionally smirking at the camera. What I didn't realize was that Elaine was the dispatcher who took Karen's call. She instantly recognized both the voice and our address. Elaine couldn't outright dismiss the call. That would break protocol. But she was able to mark the report as suspicious and downgraded the response to a welfare check. She also included a note in the system. The caller had a documented history of harassing the residents. Within 10 minutes, a police cruiser rolled up. Karen ran up to the officers, pointing at our house, as if she'd just uncovered a crime scene. Stepped outside, meeting them at the gate. "Officers, I'm the homeowner," I said, holding up my ID. "There's no emergency. This woman has been targeting us for months, trying to enforce HOA rules that don't apply to our home." One officer nodded and touched his earpiece again. His demeanor shifted slightly. "Sir, is your wife Elaine Miller?" he asked. "Yes," I said, still unsure where this was going. "She's on dispatch now." She gave us some background on this situation. Then he turned to Karen, whose smug expression had vanished. "Ma'am, did you report an emergency here? Screaming? Refusal to open the gate?" "Yes, they could be hiding something," she insisted, her voice shrill and shaky. The officer's face became serious. "Ma'am, the dispatcher is Mr. Miller's wife. She's noted your ongoing issues with this family and the lack of any legitimate emergency. Your call appears to have been a false report." Karen went pale. She's lying. She's covering for him. I heard something." Another officer stepped up. "Ma'am, all emergency calls are recorded. We have a transcript of your statement. It appears this isn't the first time you've made false accusations about neighbors who didn't comply with HOA expectations." By now, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered. Karen's eyes darted nervously. For the first time since we moved in, she looked speechless. "Karen Wilkins," the officer said sternly, "you're under arrest for filing a false report and misusing emergency services. These are serious offenses." Karen's face morphed, from disbelief to fury to fear. "This is absurd! I'm trying to protect the neighborhood. I'm the HOA president." "Not anymore," someone muttered from the crowd. As she was led to the patrol car, Karen turned back toward me, eyes blazing. "This isn't over," she hissed. I simply said, "Actually, Karen, I think it is." One older neighbor approached me quietly. "We've all wanted to say something for a long time," he said. No one ever had the guts. I gave a statement to the police, then went back inside. Elaine called on her break and confirmed everything. "She really did it," Elaine said. "I flagged everything. Her voice, her history, your address. It's all in the report." Karen's legal consequences were no joke. 3 weeks later, in court, she was convicted of making a false police report and misusing emergency systems. Our documentation of her obsessive harassment didn't help her case. The judge fined her $5,000, gave her a year of probation, and sentenced her to $200 hours of community service. She was also served with a restraining order. She couldn't come within 100 feet of us or contact us ever again. But the most poetic justice came from her own HOA. An emergency meeting was held, and Karen was voted out, unanimously. Turns out, we weren't the only family she had bullied. As she was escorted from the meeting, her face was frozen in disbelief. She couldn't understand it. Her reign of intimidation was finally undeniably over.